They didn't give us a full apple as a logo. They gave us a bitten apple as a logo. This is the sin of all sins.
Welcome back to Old Dog New Tricks with Harley and Malarkey.
Yes. So I'm going to spring this one on you. This is our subject today. And we're going to get right into it.
You scare me with these sometimes.
I hope so. I hope so. This one, I think, might be the greatest sin to ever happen to humanity. This is the greatest travesty of life and potentially the end of our existence.
What could you possibly be talking about?
This is our cell phones. This is our cell phones. I have this thought and this theory, and I want people to get this story, and I don't know why they've never really gotten this story.
Are you going to tell the Adam and Eve story?
I'm going to tell the Adam and Eve story.
He told me this story on our second date, I think.
And how is this not viral yet? Guys.
Oh, wait, just one more question. Did you come up with this?
I did.
Okay.
This is me.
Okay.
I have not heard anybody else do this one yet.
Okay.
This is like, I don't know how I got this one, right? Sometimes you wake up and magic strikes you and nobody cares. So listen here. Okay. So based on your religion, most religions have a Garden of Eden, right?
Yes.
I do believe Muslims have this garden, this creation of life, right? And obviously the Judaism and Christianity, they all kind of start in this development of the world, right? And so it's all based on Adam's like hanging out. He's in this place. He's like kind of lonely. He's got the animals and the birds and the water and the sun and all this stuff. And he's like, hey, bro, I'm kind of lonely. That's what he called God back in the day. He was like, bro, I'm a little lonely. He goes, well, popped a rib, took a rib right out of him and made a woman, Eve. So now they're frolicking and fucking and having the time of their life. God says, you guys can do whatever you want in this garden, but just for sport, what do you say that tree of knowledge over there, right? That one over there, it has those red things on them, the apples. What do you say just to make sure we stay inside the lines here a little bit, just to test ourselves a little bit? You can do anything you want in this garden except eat that apple from the tree of knowledge. And they're like, to God, we got everything we want. We don't need that, right? And there they are. They're playing, they're frolicking, they're having the best time ever. And then one day, and I'm not saying it was Eve, it was probably Adam. You know, the Bible blames it on Eve. But anyway, they're like, why not the apple? Why not the apple? You know, like, God, it must be really good.
I'm
like,
sure it was Adam.
Yeah. Well, now I'm going to give it back to Eve. It was definitely Eve. That little bitch was like, oh, I'm going to go get some weird shit over there, right? So anyway, listen, I was trying not to blame either one, and you just threw out.
There's been enough blamed on women.
Okay, whatever. Who cares? We don't care. Anyway, one day they're sitting around, they're a little bit bored, and this snake comes out and is like, "Hey, come on over here." And they're like, "Yeah, let's do that." I mean, we like to take a walk on the wild side from time to time. Not saying like we bite some apples. Let's just say that, right?
If somebody told us not to eat the apple, you would say,
"Let's definitely go eat the apple."
Yeah.
Okay. So let me see that telephone device over there. So there they are. They eat that apple, and oh my God, they come down. God's like, "What? That is the original sin. That you are in deep, deep trouble." And then you know what it is? These people that created this little thing called the iPhone and our computers and stuff like that, a little company called Apple, they didn't give us a full apple as a logo. They gave us a bitten apple as a logo. This is the sin of all sins. The sin, look at that, a bite taken out of it. They knew they had created this devil on earth. And as much as we think we love this thing, as much as we think we're talking to the world, we are literally talking to no one.
Yeah.
There's somebody sitting right across from you, and that is why this is our subject today, is because you control me. She's got some timers on my Instagram, on my social medias, where you just mindlessly go. You constantly go there. And then also on date night last night, she just reached over, she grabbed that phone of mine and put it in her bag. And it is like nicotine to a smoker.
It is
like
we're all addicted
to an alcohol. You grab it and you don't even know why. And there's even ways to see how many times you've grabbed it throughout the day. It is literally, my children were probably going to lose their generation. Let's just be honest. They're just like this. They're like this.
They are so addicted to their phones. It's scary. But then I'm like, Well, you're not setting the best example. You're pretty fucking addicted to your phone too. And I'm like, how many times do you think you pick up your phone a day? And we looked at it, and he picks up his phone an average of every like 5 minutes. And I forget if that's waking hours.
No, I think it was even worse than
Yeah,
that.
every
It was like
2 minutes.
200 times, blah, blah, blah. I do the math. It's probably every 5 minutes. It's just ridiculous. And now that I have that timer, and I challenge everybody out there to give yourself, do you not think 1 hour a day on your social media should be enough? I mean, think about the amount of time. Every 24 days, you're wasting one entire day of your life
Yeah.
on social media, seeing somebody do a dumb dance, seeing somebody do, I mean, it's not even dances anymore, eating something weird, doing something funny, something this.
And that's if you're only using it an hour a day. And that's like 15 days a year. Can you imagine? That's 15 days. That's not including sleeping time. Like, it's scary when you start
I
to think
saw this
about
thing
that.
on Instagram. And it was like somebody going, "Oh, you're never going to ask yourself, like when you're facing the golden fiddle." I think that's what it is.
Golden Gates.
Oh no, I like the golden fiddle, like Charlie Daniels. You
Okay.
know,
I don't know
Devil
who
Went
that
Down
is.
to Georgia.
Old dog.
Bum, bum, bum,
Oh,
bum.
yeah.
yeah, that song.
Okay.
Anyway, are you ever going to ask at the last minute and go, "Oh my God, I wish I had some of those times back. I wish I had some of those memories back where I was looking at my phone."
Yeah.
No, not at all.
No, you are. You're never going to say, I wish I spent more time on Instagram. You're going to say, I wish I spent more time in the real world.
Talking to my family members, hiking a mountain, playing with my dog, sleeping, thinking, reading, anything but that. I never finished my whole biblical story there, but I imagine your Savior will come down from the sky one day and be like, "I told you not to bite the apple." And everybody's like, I'm eating the apple every single day of my life, know?
Well, they've done studies on it, and essentially people are truly addicted to it. When you grab your phone, when you look at Instagram, your brain produces dopamine, and you're always looking for that next dopamine hit.
Whoa.
And then you're not able to get dopamine from the regular activities in your life that you would normally get it from, and the amounts you're supposed to get it from, because you're using up all your dopamine on your phone. So scientifically, it's making you less happier. For me, I just feel like my brain kind of gets scrambled. It's not working as well. And I notice if I take time out of my day to rest, if I take that time and I sit in bed and I read a book or I go lay in the sun, I feel like I've truly rested. If I take that time and I scroll on Instagram, I think it's partially that it just messes with my brain, and then partially that I know that it's so bad for me that I have the guilt that it's not rest to me. And I think that that's what most people in our society today are doing to, come down, to recharge, is they're scrolling on their phone. But like,
Which exhausts you.
it's exhausting, and nobody's really resting. I actually didn't even tell you this. I didn't know we were talking about this today. But before we did our podcast, I deleted Instagram off my phone this morning because I'm just like, I am not going to go on Instagram.
Forever?
I think until we launch this podcast, we haven't launched this out yet to the world, but I'm like, I'm just going to focus on getting our podcast sent out, and I don't want to be on Instagram until then because it's just such a waste of my time.
Well, I'll let you know what's going on Instagram because it's very important for me to stay relevant in the world of Instagram. It's for my brand, is what I constantly tell myself. It's wild and it's scary because you see these young kids and they're not just Instagram. They're doing their snaps, and their TikToks, and they're this and this. And there's so many different things going on there. It's just exhausting. And the bullying that they do on Snapchat is absolutely incredible. They can be so mean to each other when it's through a machine. They're ruthless to each other and they gang up on each other on social media.
I just got distracted because I know you got Botox right before this, and I don't think you're supposed to wear a hat for 4 hours after you get Botox.
That's okay. I'm not scared.
Well, I don't want it to move around.
I don't think you understand how Botox works.
Okay.
All right.
All right, never mind.
This old dog's got thick skin. And when you put that underneath the leather ain't moving nowhere. All right? That's what I'm saying.
Okay. No, but it's terrifying. I think like if I have children someday, I want to be so conscious of their screen usage. And I guess the American Pediatrics Association actually recommends that you don't put a screen in front of your child's face until they're 3 years old because of something that it does for their brain development, which nobody does in this day and age. And it's not to induce mom or dad guilt on anybody because it's so overwhelming to be a parent. But
it is the first generation that's had to absorb this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like something we've never
the Wild
seen.
West.
It's the Wild West. I mean, It is a built-in babysitter. Take your kid to a fancy restaurant, give them that. You don't have to talk to them forever. When I was a kid, it was TV. My mom would literally just leave us watching the TV for hours. I'm going to go work on the ranch. I've got some stuff to do. Watch Dukes of Hazzard. I mean, that's a double negative right there. There's a lot of negatives in that one, right? Little House on the Prairie. Let's talk about some old dog right there. That's what I'm talking about.
I've always been a little anti-technology, or just like Instagram sucks me in, but as a kid, like I'd watch cartoons sometimes in the morning, but I never really got super drawn into stuff. I never played video games, and I just remember my childhood. It was like from 8 in the morning until the sun went down. I went out and I played with my neighborhood friends, and I was out there, moving my body at the beach, doing all these things. And I look back on that so fondly. Like, what a great summer that I had as a child. Like, what a great childhood in a lot of ways. And our kids these days have that a little bit, but I feel like more than half the time that they would normally spend outside, they're spending glued to their phones.
Gaming devices, so many different things. And it's just, you know what it is? This is obviously probably not as bad, but it might be worse, is the way that cigarettes targeted certain generations of people.
I think it's worse in some ways.
I think it probably is worse because you're getting this just massive influx. And obviously China's spying on us too. I mean, China knows what we're doing. Like all this, like, get rid of TikTok, get rid of that, like, it sounds great. I want to get rid of TikTok. I want to get rid of some of this stuff. But the reality is China doesn't give a shit where our children are doing. Don't worry, they're not going to spy on us. But they do say that in China, the kids are watching kids that are great at martial arts, or great at spelling bees, or great at this, or great at solving problems. And our kids are watching stupid things on how to make gross food or how to do a stupid dance.
I saw something the other day that made me so sad, which is, we're not really allowing our children the opportunity to get bored anymore. And so now we have this generation of, would-be painters, would-be, comedians, would-be musicians who aren't like sitting around fiddling with their guitar or sitting around like painting or drawing in their room. They don't have a chance to get bored because they just pick up their phone the second they get bored. So they're not looking for creative ways to entertain themselves. They're not bringing their creative talents to the world. And that's heartbreaking to me that we're losing all these artists and these talents in our young kids to fucking social media. It's disgusting, actually. It really pisses me off.
Tell me how you really feel about that. This is just a huge thing. And this is not a conversation that will be resolved or understood in a few minutes here on a little podcast. But this is something that we all really need to adjust and think about and change for the future, because I do believe we will look back at this time when we got flooded with all of this knowledge and all of the social media and really changed the history of the world by biting the damn apple over and over again.
That was a good mic drop, and I completely agree with you, but I have more to add because I think that
I was going to say, when you drop the mic, nobody actually says something when you're done.
Well, I'm not done yet. But I do have this is something I've thought about a lot for a long time because I think that it's so important to have better boundaries around it. And I think that it's hard to wind it back when your kids are already like glued to social media as your children are glued to their phones. But it's a lot easier when you're starting out. So a lot of like celebrities talk about
Are you saying we should just off the ones that are already on it and we just start with new ones?
No, but I'm saying if you haven't given your kids a phone yet, like maybe think about giving them
100%. I agree with you. My children got phones when I was away shooting something. I did not think they were age appropriate to have these phones, and it's been a disaster ever since.
And they still sell dumb phones. If you want to be able to get a hold of your kid, you can buy them a dumb phone. You can limit the apps they have on there.
They have the little watch that doesn't have apps on it and stuff like that. You can also contact your children with, and that's fine. That is a great opportunity and a great resource, but it's all of the apps and all of the other stuff that comes along with it.
I was listening to this teenager psychologist, and she said that she didn't necessarily have the evidence that social media...
What? Stop. Back it up. Teenager... Oh,
a psychologist for teenagers.
She's not a teenager. I was like, how'd this kid get her degree? No. I was like concerned with this. Okay?
No, I can't get him to read anything, so I have to pay attention. But she was talking about how there's not necessarily horrible evidence against social media, but the bad thing for it is that it's destroying our children's sleep. And there is a ton of evidence that if kids aren't getting good sleep, that's really destroying their mental health. So if you do have kids with phones already, if you can make them turn them in before they go to bed on school nights, I think that, you can't really pull everything back, but maybe that's a boundary you could instill. And for me, as I think about our future and what I want to model is like, you have to be a good role model to your kids. So if you're sitting there glued to your phone all the time, how can you expect your kids to have good boundaries with their phone, Brian? So that's what I did last night. And Brian drives me nuts because if I'm not on his ass, he'll be on his phone all the time. He'll be on his phone when we're out at dinner. He'll be on his phone when we're driving in the car together. And so last night I always say, hey, can we have dinner without our phones? And I just have to take his phone away from him or else he will use it. And he finds everything on his phone to be an emergency. He's like, well, they had a question for me. I'm like, it's not a fucking emergency. It might be an emergency for them, but it's not an emergency for you.
I don't even think it's an emergency for them.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I should really answer on how to butcher that piece of beef right now. So many things don't need to be addressed immediately. And what I get mad at people the most is spur of the moment decisions. Like, like no thought.
We're back. We lost our mic.
Well,
Power outage.
in the previous recording, I said a beautiful exit, and you said nice mic drop, but you're not done talking. It appears our equipment agreed with my mic drop, and it was like, I think you're done.
I mean, I think that it was good to leave them with some tangible tips.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I really, as you noticed, I get very passionate about the whole phone thing, and it would make me happy if we could influence one person to use their phone
Just
less.
One person. One person. Please donate 1 penny a day to help one person use their phone a little bit less. Thank you from the Harley Malarkey Show. Thank you from Old Dog, New Tricks, Harley and Malarkey. Turn off your phone and enjoy the people in your immediate space. Enjoy your immediate space.
Remember, no one on their deathbed has ever said, I wish I spent more time on Instagram. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share with a friend, subscribe, and leave us a rating and review. Follow us at Harley and Malarkey Podcast on Instagram and send us a message to let us know what you want to hear next or have us answer your question on an upcoming episode. Tune in next week for more Old Dog New Tricks. Thank you for listening.